All right, Tuesday night, Krug Show. We're off and rolling. Raj is in the house. The eve of the Brock Purdy presser tomorrow in Santa Clara. What will we ask Purdy tomorrow? Let's go. Off and running on the Krug Show Tuesday night. Larry Krueger with you. Hope everybody is having a great day. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out, so get there early. Get some brisket. Get some brisket chili. Tell them the Krug sent you. This live stream is also sponsored by LearnKey Upskill Academy. You see their logo right beneath me there. They're an online learning platform designed to get you job ready in 6 months or less, whether you're interested in IT, cybersecurity, marketing. Could be another high-demand field. They offer over 30 different certification programs to help you take that next step in your professional career. Great company. They've been in business for 37 years. They've worked with over 200,000 students over the life of their company, and they place about 100 students a month in well-paying jobs. So the link's in the description below. If you're between jobs, if you're a little underskilled, if you want to, up your skills and become more valuable in the workforce. We're big fans of trying to help our audience get more money and have a better life. LearnKey's Upskill Academy. The link is in the description below. And thanks to LearnKey for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, we're off and running. We got a lot to get to. Raj, good to see you, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I mean, how can you not be good being a Niner fan right now? Literally been a great month. No drama. Brock Purdy signed his contract. They made it official today. Fred Warner signed his contract a couple weeks ago. George Kittle signed his contract. I'm as happy as you can be, my man.
Dude, seriously, and you're blowing up. I mean, so many of these Niner news bits are being announced via your RSF 49ers. In fact, I'm going to share the screen and just you were hyping, and now I will be hyping the hype video. This is the Brock Purdy hype video, which you have out on RSF 49ers as we speak. Here it is, a little bit of Brock for a little hype for those who haven't seen it.
262nd pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Brock Purdy, a quarterback from Iowa State.
Mr. Irrelevance is a quarterback. How about that?
Man, I got my foot in the door. The team believed in me, and now I get my opportunity to go and play football. That's where I want my job to be, is to be an NFL quarterback. That's where my mindset's at with it.
And so it's the rookie Brock Purdy, who's seen just mop-up duty in one game in the NFL. To touchdown, San Francisco. Purdy off of the bench has his first NFL touchdown.
He goes from 1 to 2 to 3, like he's been playing in this league for 10, 15 years.
He's gone from the last pick of the draft, one of the best stories we've ever seen.
One downfield for Kittle. Touchdown! San Francisco!
Smart, quick decisions. He's confident in himself and breathes confidence in his teammates.
He did pretty good.
Soon as he steps on the football field, he's a baller.
He sees the play quickly, he processes uber quickly, and then he lets her rip.
He's got him! Touchdown! Are you kidding me?
Brock Purdy just continues to win games in the NFL. It's amazing.
Hello!
Wow, man, good stuff. Gives you chills. Gives you chills. Really nice job there by the 49ers. And you just put that out on your IG earlier today, so that means the entire world has seen it. Because Raj has that many followers on the IG. Let's talk Brock Purdy for a second. What did you think of the deal? It's, there are people that have strong opinions one way or another. There's no question, it's 53 million AAV. It's 181 million guaranteed. It's a full no trade clause. It's a 5-year deal. There's going to be a way for the 49ers to get out earlier if they want. It is 14th highest percentage of the Niners cap at point of signing in the first year. It's 18% of the Niner cap over the first 3 years when it's supposed to be most punitive. It's actually pretty reasonable. I don't know that anybody could really argue with the dollar figure. You might argue with the decision to offer him a big money long-term extension period. But if you're in the belief that this guy's the franchise quarterback and deserves a contract extension, I don't know how you could be too have issue with the terms. What did you think of the extension?
I mean, I was hyped up. I mean, when the news dropped, we were like, oh my God, it came and it was like perfect timing. And the great thing about it it's May 20th right now. This was done about 4 days ago now. There's no drama. Like, training camp's going to come. They can focus on football. That's what the best thing about this contract was. And overall, the numbers, I don't think it's that crazy. It's in the market, right? I think the Tua deal is around where he's at. 53.1 is what Tua got. He got 53 a year. The guaranteed money is right around where people were thinking he should be. I mean, and you reward him. He's worked his ass off. He was the last pick of the draft. He's grinded himself. He's took you to championship games, playoffs, this, that, and the other. So you reward him for that. I think it's definitely well-deserved for Brock, and he's generational money. It's the most money any Mr. Irrelevant has ever made. Like, it's a great story. We all know that. But if you really think about it,
it's a movie. I mean, it's going to be a movie. If this guy wins the Super Bowl, Raj, it's going to be a movie.
It's a fucking movie. Like, get your
for sure
movie ready. 100% movie. It's a great story. Like Kurt Warner, they made a movie about him. They're going to make a movie about Brock Purdy, and it's going to be fantastic. But there are people that say you overpaid him or whatnot. In 2 years, Jaden Daniels is going to get paid, and the next crop of quarterbacks are going to get paid. Patrick Mahomes is due for another contract. In a year or two, that contract's going to be a bargain at $53 million, which is crazy. It's just a lot of money. But if you really think about it, he's in 7th highest paid quarterback in the league. But he deserved the money. I mean, he's now the highest paid 49er in history. Good for Brock, man. And they found a way to do it where it doesn't really cripple the team. You know what I mean? 53 million, yes, you might think it does. But again, you said there's outs in the contract. There's ways they can kind of, structure it. And you know how the 49ers do it. They always do like restructures, and they always find a way to open up the cap space. And then by doing the Fred Warner and the George Kittle contract extensions at the same time, they opened up cap space. They got rid of a lot of players that had big contracts like Debo and stuff. They knew the dead cap was, back against the wall, and they kind of navigated around it. So overall, I thought it was a good contract. He deserved the money, and we can move on. You don't have to worry about, is he going to get paid 60, 40, 50, this. We don't have to worry about it. We got the number. He's paid. The team is happy, and that's all that matters.
The reaction is always interesting. Kurt Warner went on 95.7 The Game with Willard and Dibbs and said, I know who Brock Purdy is. I love the way he plays the game. He does things that people don't appreciate and don't understand about the quarterback position that not everybody can do just because they may jump higher, run faster, and throw farther than him. So he weighed in on it, and he's obviously a big Purdy fan. Steve Young also weighed in. He said, great to see things come together for Brock. Happy for him and his loved ones. Vets stay healthy, and rookies need to pop, and we'll be good. Let's get it, fam. So Steve's got hope for the upcoming years. I love Steve. Young
saying, let's get it, fam, kind of tickles me.
That's awesome. But, in a lot of ways, we've seen quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts get paid and then win, right? And so it's, some guys win and then they get paid. I mean, Joe Montana clearly won the Super Bowl, before the riches came his way. But then he won the Super Bowl and won it again, and then the riches followed. But Brock in this situation is a little bit more like Steve Young. Steve Young had $40 million guaranteed to him by the USFL and the LA Express, and then I believe he settled for $25 million. So before Steve ever played a down in the NFL, he had $25 million in the bank. So he was, in a lot of ways, he's very similar to Brock. I mean, Brock's 25. He's 25 years old. He's barely even gotten his NFL career rolling yet. And he's already got generational wealth, and his family's taken care of. And I think it's a great position for him to be in. And now all he's got to focus on is just, becoming the best quarterback he can become, and he's got the money taken care of. He's got the security taken care of. That's all out of the way, and now it's a matter of just perfecting your craft. And we were told by Kubiak the other day that Brock wants to be coached hard. He demands that the coaches kind of throw stuff at him that he's not good at, and try to help him kind of hone what he does and work on his weaknesses. And that's how you get better. I mean, that's how you get better. You find out what you're not good at, you work at it. That's basic, that's just life. Doesn't even have to be football. Yeah. But you look at what Purdy's done. First year, 13-4. Niners, lose to the Eagles, but he ran the table coming off the bench for Jimmy Garoppolo at the end of the year, 7-0. Threw for 332 yards and 4 touchdowns, I believe, in his first playoff game against Seattle. Second year, he comes out 12-5. They win the NFC title game. He plays exceptional football in the second half against both Green Bay and Detroit. Outplayed Love and Goff and took the Niners to the Super Bowl. Walked off the field in Vegas, a lead with a lead twice, only to see his defense kind of gag it away. And then last year, I thought last year was a good year for Brock. He had the Niners were the second most injured offense in the entire league. CMC, Ayuk, Debo, and Kittle played a total of 57 snaps together, and still this guy, played well. 3rd in yards per attempt, 4th in success rate, 5th in EPA per attempt. The whole thing kind of bogged down around him. And you saw it kind of manifests itself in those second half of the year turnovers. But I thought he looked pretty good last year. So if last year was his down year without his weapons and without much of a line or a supporting cast, I think you got to feel pretty good. I almost feel better about Brock Purdy based on what his down year looked like than what his best year looked like. Because I thought his down year wasn't good, but all things considered, it wasn't terrible. And last year was a tire fire of a season for the 49ers, and still he found a way to produce and play pretty well.
Well, I got a little different take on that, which, that was his worst year, obviously, last year. The first 2 years we were like, oh, my God, this guy, he's the savior, and again, he's their franchise. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They gave him the 5 years. He's here for 6 more years. He got a no-trade clause. That tells you the 49ers 100% are behind this. This is their guy. They don't want any drama. They don't want to go back to the drawing board. They don't want to have the Jimmy G, Trey Lance contract. They're over all that. So they got their guy. Now, this is the question. You got the $53 million. It doesn't mean that you could just go out there and do whatever you got to do. He's got to prove himself. He does. Last year was a really bad year. Now we have to know, was last year the real Brock Purdy? Was it the first 2 years? Is that the real Brock Purdy? I know the O-line was, banged up with Trent Williams and CMC, and the injuries were around the team, but you can't always use those injuries to an extent you can. So this year, Brock has really have to prove himself. I'm making $53 million. Fourth quarter comes, he has to become that elite quarterback in the fourth quarter. Can he take over? Can he win games? Because yes, last year the whole team was bad. Let's just sit here and be honest. It wasn't just Brock. It was a lot of factors, and everybody was ugly, and there's a lot of fingers you could point. But now this year, team's healthy. There's no drama. They're focused. They saying all the right things. The locker room seems happy. Can Brock Purdy, when the fourth quarter comes and push comes to shove, can he lead this team to victory? Because last year he was in a lot of pressure-packed situations, threw some interceptions. The turnovers were bad. So I think he still has a lot to prove this year. There's a lot of doubters out there for sure. Of course, they don't believe he's worth the money. I think he's had a great career so far. Again, Mr. Irrelevant, making $53 million a year is absolutely fantastic. But now he still has to prove himself to the people, because people are still going to doubt him. Now they're going to say, you have $53 million? Show me why you're making $53 million. If you're the franchise quarterback, show me why you're the $53 million. Show me why you're the franchise. So there are still going to be questions for him. I think last year definitely was a tough year for him, but I believe in him. I think the team, is really strong. If Christian McCaffrey's healthy, if Trent Williams is going to be healthy, and everybody else comes to play like we expect them to, then I think he's going to go back to those first 2 years. That should be the real Brock Purdy, but a lot to be kind of digested in the next couple of months.
Well, obviously he wasn't. He had his worst year last year, but yeah. It's like, once again, it's like losing football always comes down on the quarterback.
Yeah.
Losing football always comes down on the quarterback. I mean, the Eagles beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and Mahomes threw, 2 interceptions and also lost a fumble. So he had 3 turnovers in the game. So it's like, does Mahomes have pressure on himself to bounce back? I mean, was Mahomes the reason that the Chiefs lost, or was Mahomes just the quarterback and had the ball in his hands to throw the 2 interceptions and to fumble at once? And you know what I'm saying? It's like the Chiefs O-line got beat by the Eagles D-line. But if you look at the box score, you say, well, Patrick Mahomes threw, 21 of 32 for 257, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a fumble, and was sacked 6 times and had 11.4 QB rating or QBR. So it's like one of those things where, yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, Brock was the quarterback, and they didn't have a very good year. But I don't know if I would say they didn't have a very good year because Brock. I look at last year, and I'm thinking, okay, let me think. What happened last year? Well, what did happen last year? I just think they was just overwhelming, just everything. I mean, you were the Super Bowl loser. We all know that the Super Bowl loser almost always suffers the next year. They did. Mooney Ward's daughter died in the middle of the season. Ricky Pearsall was shot in Union Square. I mean, Brandon Ayuk held out, and then he had that spat with Shanahan. There was weird vibes around that. Trent Williams held out, and there was weird vibes around the Niner camp. The Niners had so many injuries in the summer that they had to cancel the joint practices with the Saints because they couldn't field a practice field worth of players. I mean, that felt very much like, what are we doing here? They had the shortened off season because of the Super Bowl defeat. They had a brutal schedule with 22 less rest days than their opponent and minus 37 rest days on other contenders like the Ravens. They played 4 teams coming off a bye. I mean, their weapons played 57 snaps together all year. Their premier weapons, CMC, Debo, and Ayuk, scored 40 fewer touchdowns than they did the year before. Trent Williams got hurt. They were here's the thing, though. As much as we want to be like, man, it's on Brock, and it is to some degree, I would agree. But the Niners, even with all of their injuries on offense, to Trent, to Debo, to CMC, to Ayuk, even with all that, they were still 9th in offensive DVOA. They were 32nd in special teams DVOA. They were like 24th, I think, in defensive DVOA. So they, the offense wasn't good enough, but the defense was worse and the special teams was worse. And at least they spent 5 picks in the draft trying to upgrade the defense. And they brought in Boyer, and we'll see if he can upgrade the offense or upgrade the special teams. But I mean, it's, to me, no question. Brock's got to play better, but I would say last year he played pretty good football at times. It's just he turned it over in the second half of games from behind. When they fell behind and they had to lead the team in the fourth quarter, he turned the ball over.
Yeah.
And those turnovers, if that's how he plays the rest of his career, that will not be good, and he will not be worth the money.
That's what I'm saying. If he can eliminate those turnovers, I think we'll realize and see the real Brock. But you're right. There was so many factors last year, and I talked about it all week on my show. I said, listen, this offseason is the polar opposite of last year's. Last year, it seems like there was like a dark cloud hanging on the Niners, right? They coming off a Super Bowl loss. The next day, you find out they didn't even know the overtime rules. Like, everything that was bad last year. Drama in the contracts. You got cryptic tweets from BA. Like, it was whatever you could think about was just so bad. And adversity, and it kind of like dipped into the season, right? All the adversity started dipping into the season. Injuries, and people say it's a Super Bowl hangover. So everything that was bad happened last year. And I feel like this year it's the exact opposite. So, yeah, I'm pretty optimistic. I think most fans are, because we're not having all that drama. We're pretty happy with the, results of the draft. They've, put together a better defense on paper, a better special teams. They got better coaches. They got rid of Sorensen. everything that the fans have asked for, they've done. They even got a new kicker this week, Greg Joseph, right? So they're putting together a pretty flawless offseason. Now, can that, translate into more wins and things like that? We'll see. But, it's not to say that Brock Purdy's not without any fault for last year. I mean, yes, there was a lot of factors, Larry. There was absolutely tremendous amount of adversity, Mooney Ward, everything. But you got to also call a spade and say, hey, look, Brock was in the position to win many games and he turned the ball over. But I'm not doubting him. I'm happy for Brock. I think it was a great contract. I think he earned the money. But this is a big year. You paid him. Now he's really got to prove that, hey, those interceptions, those turnovers, it was just a product of a bad season. So I'm excited to see him bounce back this year and prove everybody wrong.
I mean, it's really it's kind of it's about him, but it's also not about him because I mean, if the 49ers, I mean, is he going to have? Somebody asked me, well, now he got paid. Is he going to be successful? I'm like, well, if he has a good offensive line, if he has good weapons, if he has a good defense, if they surround him with enough talent, he'll be good. There's very few guys that can lift up the whole team. I mean, you saw it last year in the Super Bowl. If Patrick Mahomes was really just absolutely this total difference maker, shouldn't he have been able to lift up the Kansas City Chiefs in that game? Well, no, because it's a team game, and who you have on the team matters. And it's like it may have played to some like it was all Mahomes, but it was never all Mahomes. It was always a team effort the years he was winning. And is Hurts better than Mahomes? No, but he beat Mahomes in the ultimate game. So, we'll see. Now, Adam Schefter weighed in today on the Purdy front and said a couple of interesting things. Said that the initial ask from Purdy's camp was for $65 million. And that to me wasn't surprising at all. We talked about this extensively. I don't fault the Niners if they started the negotiation by saying, we'll offer $40 million, we'll offer $45 million. And I don't blame Kyle Strongen if he started the negotiation on his end with Dak's making 60 and he's never been to the Super Bowl. We want 65. We have been to the Super Bowl, and I got, to me, that was not that big of a revelation. I mean, it's like anything else. If you want to pay $500,000 for a house and, the guy's asking $500,000, well, are you going to offer $500,000? Maybe, but you might want to offer less if you don't want to pay a penny over. It depends. I mean, is there going to be a bidding war for the property? But, a lot of times, if you have a game plan. So if the Niners wanted to pay Brock 55, then maybe they start with 45. And if Brock's agent wanted Brock to get 55, maybe you start with 65. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that was that. To me, like that came out today like, wow, what a juicy little nugget. And to me, that's just like, hey, that's just par for negotiation, right? That's how you negotiate.
Yeah. Shoot or shoot. It's to me, if you're Brock Purdy's agent, you want to shoot for the stars, aim for the moon, like go for the gusto. You're not getting $65 million, but you're an agent. You throw out the biggest number. Yeah, it was 65. You're not going to get 65, but that's the negotiation. I just feel like this whole time, because the 49ers have had no juicy there's literally no drama for the 49ers this season. And I think the media, it's driving them absolutely insane. And Schefter was like, okay, we got this little scoop here. I'm going to throw it out. And people are going to be, oh, my God. And it didn't go the way he wanted to. It was like, okay, it was kind of a nothing burger. Like we posted it, but people are like, well, I mean, that's what you should do is negotiation. Exactly like you said. Like most people's reaction was basically what you said, Larry. And it was just like, I feel like the way he was talking about it was like, oh, God, we got this story. Oh, they didn't even try to trade. Like, no team wanted to trade for him. Blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, if you're saying it's $65 million is what they're offering, no team is going to take a $65 million quarterback. So it wasn't that big of a juicy story because Niners really have no drama. And I think that's pissing people off. The only drama was that Humphreys, the offensive lineman, agreed to terms, but he didn't sign. That is literally the only amount of drama we have this offseason. And that's really nothing. It's really
Well,
different.
I mean, not only that, I mean, if you go back to listen to this video where Schefter's talking about this today, the first revelation is even the biggest nothing burger. He's like, the 49ers and Brock Purdy's agent have met multiple times this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
What? Okay, so what? I mean, the deal was almost a $300 million deal. If you didn't meet multiple times, that would have been a story.
That would have been a story. Like, oh,
met one time. We met one time and we got it done. Really? They met one time.
And then we got pregnant. Like, that's really what that's
crazy.
That would have been a story, Larry.
Yeah. If he had said, man, we sat down and in 5 minutes we hammered this thing out, that would have been a story. The fact that they met multiple times is like, yeah, okay. So, I mean, I would figure this much. So I thought that was kind of a nothing thing. And then, the Brock asked for $65 million initially. I think that was kind of a nothing thing. The one part of it, though, that I did find interesting, and I'm sure everybody finds interesting, is that Schefter made it seem like he canvassed the league and that teams were like, well, he's a good player for them, but we're not interested in trading for him. It made it kind of did Brock a little bit of a disservice because it made it seem like the 49 for the people that are screaming at the top of their lungs, the Niners were bidding against themselves. Nobody was interested. It seems to give that person some credence, right? Because it's like, well, no team showed interest in trading for Brock Purdy. But then you kind of wonder, well, wait a second. The 49ers have been saying for a long time. Shanahan said it. Lynch has said it. The owners said it. This is our guy. We don't want him to go anywhere. The owner called him a top 10 quarterback. So I don't know, man. I mean, I'll just say this. I believe Schefter when he says nobody had trade interest in Brock Purdy. I'll take it for what it is. But I'll just say this. I don't think that the 49ers cultivated a lot of trade interest with how they approached it. I think they probably, how they approached it, because people took him at face value. Hey, we love Brock Purdy. He's our guy. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. He's going to be the only quarterback we have here, the rest of our time here. The owner's like, oh, this is one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the sport. That doesn't scream out, make us an offer.
Yeah, they were committed.
And most teams don't want to make offers to have them shopped or have them just sitting there. You know what I mean? You only really want to make an offer if you're making an offer to somebody who's actually considering your offer and may actually pull the trigger. I don't know. My read on the whole trade thing was just that, nobody made a trade offer, but it didn't. I don't know if the Niners necessarily sought a trade offer or sent out feelings that they would be interested in a trade offer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, again, it's just the media trying to stir the pot and trying, because these stories always come out after the fact, because sometimes it's like, oh, we got to throw some spin on it. We need to get some, some views and stuff. And again, I just really feel that Schefter was trying to, stir the pot. And to me, that was kind of a backhanded compliment when he said, oh, the team said, oh, he's good, but he's not good for us, just good for the Niners. Like, again, did the 49ers really have any interest in trading Brock? No, they made it clear. They made it clear in January after, the goodbye press conferences and everything. They were like, yeah, Brock's going to be back. He's your guy. We're going to sit down. We're going to break bread. Brock says, hey, this is the only team I want to play for. I want to get this done ASAP. And they did. They did that. I don't think this was like, it didn't go the way I think Schefter wanted it to. Like, he's been saying some nonsense stuff over the Niners, and I feel like he's just trying to stir the pot because there's no drama. Usually you got the juicy stories from the 49ers, and it's like, oh, my God. And this year it's different, and I think it's pissing him off, him and a lot of people out there. But it's funny because, the 49ers, they usually give you the headlines of, oh, my God, they just traded 3 picks to move up to number 3 pick. And it's just like, oh, man. And then the Niners, everybody shits on them. But this year, nobody is really able to do that because there's nothing shocking going on with the Niners. They paid their players. They paid Fred Warner. They're paying their people on time, and it's messing everybody up. I kind of love that this season's kind of going that way.
It's funny. I did a stream the other day or yesterday with Grant Cohn, and I said, okay, so obviously we're on different ends of the spectrum here. I think this is a good deal. I like this deal. I think it's a good deal for the team. I think it's a good deal for Brock. For Brock, I think it's a good deal for the fans. I think it's a good deal. I like the deal. I like the price. I think the price is fine. I mean, to me, that's the market. He's as good as Tua. He's as good as Goff. He's accomplished more than Tua. He in some ways he's got more of a varied skill set than Goff. So I got no problem paying him like those guys when I think he belongs with those guys. But Grant's thing was he doesn't believe that Brock's the franchise quarterback. He didn't want to see the Niners pay him that money. He wanted to see the 49ers reset the whole rookie thing again, draft a Shador or somebody like that. That was the guy he named, and go with Mac Jones. Go with Mac Jones as your starter and bring Shador along, and then have that additional money because you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, to add a few more pieces and spread it around the roster. It's not totally crazy. It's a different point of view. It's like, hey, I think the best way to win is this way. I think the best way to win is to have a franchise quarterback and then take care of him and then build around him like the Eagles did. And I think if the Niners successfully build around Brock, they'll probably get a ring or two out of it. So that's the approach that I would take. And so I like the deal. But he wanted to see them go with Mac Jones, a rookie, in this case Shador, and reset the whole rookie scale thing, and then have more money to spend on the rest of the roster. What do you think? Just first of all, what do you think of that? Just forget the names. Let's take Brock away and Shador away, and just the idea of when it's time to pay your quarterback, get off your quarterback for just some run-of-the-mill quarterback and go draft somebody and try to reset that thing and try to win at all times with the quarterback on the rookie deal. I guess that's the approach, as opposed to paying the veteran $30 million, 35, 40, in this case 53, and then trying to win that way. What do you think of Grant's idea just without the names? And then what do you think of the idea if you actually took out Brock and put in Mac Jones and Shador Sanders this year? What kind of year do you think it would be?
I mean, I get the take. I get it where people say, you got to stay young.
I do too.
The 49ers, they even said themselves, we try to get young. You save money. And I get it. They've built around the young quarterback and Brock Purdy, and then you add the weapons. But not every quarterback's going to hit. I mean, we saw with Trey Lance. You draft a young quarterback, it's not a guarantee that you're going to hit. Then you got to develop and go through the ups and downs. And then you got to face the locker room, guys like George Kittle and, Christian McCaffrey and those guys that are here. They might not have him a lot more years. They believe in Brock. They've played with him for a few years. They know what they got. They know, okay, look, we know his limitations. We know his strengths. We know how to play. We know how to win. They believe he's a leader. He's a captain. Then you got to go through a whole nother quarterback and buy into it. This team's been through quarterback drama so much that I don't think they would have been smart for this team. Like, I get it. I get the take, but for this team, it just doesn't make sense. They've been through so much quarterback nonsense. Like George Kittle, before Brock Purdy, this man played with countless quarterbacks. Trey Lance, Nick Mullins, C.J. Beathard, Brian Hoyer, Trey Lance. This man has gone through quarterback after quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. And he was sick of it. He was like, look, man, I just need a stable quarterback. And he got it. So, like, players like that, it matters. And, players like Fred Warner and players like Nick Bosa, they believe in Brock. They believe he's their guy. A lot of other people may not believe that he's going to take them to the Super Bowl or whatever. They do. They bought into Brock, just like the front office and Kyle Shanahan. So, to me, it just would put this team backwards. Like, yeah, I get it. You have a young guy. You can get all the free agents in the world. But sometimes you sign all those free agents and it doesn't make your team better. The 49ers have spent money. They've spent so much money and it didn't get them anywhere. They got Hargrave and other players and they didn't pan out, right? So sometimes doing that is just, it's not the way to go. So I feel like this was the best route because you finally can say you have your franchise quarterback. You respect them. You trust them. The team believes in them. Okay, whatever. You paid him $53. You may not think he's worth it, but that's the way the market is. And I feel like that's the right way to go. You don't sit there every year to try to pick another quarterback. Okay, who's going to be our quarterback? And with Shador and Mac Jones, that might have slapped you in the face. Again, so much drama. Shador, I like the guy, but there's always baggage with him. And then the Mac Jones situation is going to be baggage with that. And if he would have had a bad game, when are they going to start Shador? When are they going to start Shador? A team that had a 6-win season, Larry, last year doesn't need any of that. They need stability and they need a franchise quarterback, and they got one.
And it's a major freaking risk.
Yeah,
Let's be honest about this. The Niners lucked out in a huge freaking way with Brock Purdy. It's a look at the number of quarterbacks drafted in the last 10 years and go look at how many of them have hit in any round. Drafting quarterbacks is failure ridden. More of them fail than succeed. If you got a guy that's succeeding, don't look the gift horse in the mouth and think, oh yeah, we'll just get rid of Brock and we'll just draft another rookie because we'll be able to we'll find another rookie and then that rookie will play at a really high level. The Niners got something very unique with Brock. They got a quarterback who had played a lot in college, who was on a rookie contract, but played very much like a veteran player in a lot of ways. So he wasn't super raw. He wasn't Anthony Richardson. It wasn't one of these guys like, oh, you're going to have to coach him up, Kyle. No, he came ready-made for the most part. And to me, it doesn't to say, oh, get rid of Brock and go with, Mac and then just draft another rookie. It makes it seem like drafting a rookie quarterback that can play in the NFL is an easy thing to do. And it's a really impossible thing to do. And the Niners proved that they couldn't do it with the third pick in the draft.
No.
So, it's guesswork.
They've screwed every draft pick quarterback other than Brock Purdy. Like, they got so lucky. Like I said, I listed out all those quarterbacks with Lynch and Shanahan, and it was god-awful. Like, if it was so easy to draft a quarterback, Larry, the teams that draft the quarterbacks wouldn't be in that position to get. You know how many teams have sat there? The Browns, for perfect example, they went through year after year. There's the jersey, like the Browns fan had, where it listed every quarter. It was like Ty Detmer, Eric Crouch, all these quarterbacks. It's like, oh my God, are they ever going to find a franchise quarterback? They thought they had it with Baker, and then it didn't work out. They thought they had it with Deshaun Watson, and what happened with that? But it's just a perfect example of finding a quarterback in the NFL draft is not a given. Like, teams that find a franchise quarterback, that's great. That's why they are paid so much money, because it's not easy to find a franchise quarterback.
Great article out. Well, actually, before we get to that, I want to get to Fred Warner. Warner gets his extension. And that was great to see as well. And Fred's been fantastic. One of the best players at his position. I mean, this guy's just really good. Yeah. The Niners and Warner reached agreement, 3-year, $63 million contract extension, $56 million in guaranteed money. It makes him the highest paid linebacker in the NFL again, second time in his 7-year career that he's landed a contract that makes him the league's highest paid linebacker. Warren Sharp had the great tweet today on this. He said, the only things you need to know about Fred Warner. Last year, he fractured his ankle week 4 and then played 100% of the defensive snaps the next 7 games. Played 100% of the games the rest of the season. Played his most special team snap in a year since his rookie year. Wow. While playing for a 6-11 49er team that was eliminated from the playoffs early, he still played all the games. 131 total tackles, one of 3 players in the NFL with 130 or more tackles in 4 straight seasons. Voted first team All-Pro and to the Pro Bowl, all on the fractured ankle. Fred Warner, man, spectacular. I don't know what else there is to say. You put out a lot of this stuff, a lot of the social media stuff connected to Warner. I mean, he's a special player, man. Special player, special guy.
He's one of the best, man. And the Niners are blessed with great linebackers over the years, right? Patrick Willis, NaVar Bowman, Fred Warner, and the list goes on and on. Like, it is amazing to watch this guy play. And I was going to mention that the fact that he played through a fractured ankle last year was just fantastic. And he could have packed it up. He could have quit, said, nah, man, I'm done. Season's done. He played his ass off. Like, that is a true leader. That's why you pay him. I mean, he still had 2 years left on his deal. They didn't need to pay him, but they said, look, they basically said, look, you're our guy. You're our leader. You're our cap. You're the heart and soul of this defense. We need to pay you because we love you so much, man. Retire a Niner. And I'm sure Big Bob, Mr. Robert Sala, I'll probably say, yo, lock this guy up. We need to keep him here and make sure you take care of him, prioritize this guy. And for the second time in his career, highest paid in the league again, that's where he belongs. This guy's amazing. Before that fractured ankle, I know it was a down year for him, but again, he played on a fractured ankle. Before that ankle fracture, he was playing like the defensive player of the year. I hope one day he gets the DPOY award. He's just so good, man. He's so good at linebacker. Instincts, captain, leader. He does it all, man. And I was so happy that Fred got paid. Out of all the players that got paid this season, I love George Kittle. I think that was fantastic. But Fred, it was quiet. There was no fanfare, but there's no drama. It was a couple, reports that says, oh, yeah, Fred's going to be next. And then it was Sunday. Jennifer Lee Chan's yeah, he's probably closing in on it. It's pretty soon. Literally the next day, boom, contract. It was oh, wow, that Niners said, we're not wasting any time. We're going to pay him. Boom, let's go. And no drama. I love it. I love Fred. He deserved it.
Great third-round pick, man. 2018 third-round pick out of BYU. He's been awesome. Just absolutely awesome. And now Nick Martin comes in to play next to him, and Martin says that Warner's the guy that he really admires. So it's going to be fun to watch. Training camp is just around the corner. And when I say that, I'm joking. It's actually 2 months away. But we're getting up on the kind of the dead part of the NFL season. After, tomorrow will be the Purdy presser. Next week will be the OTAs. I believe the mandatory minicamp is the following week. And then it's vacation. It's 2 months of vacation. And this is when coaches go on vacation. This is when the NFL actually really does shut down. You could go to an NFL facility basically any time the rest of the year, and there's people there at all hours. But if you go in there sometime between, let's say June 1st and mid-July, before the coaches come back and get ready for camp, guys try to get away. They're going to spend so much time with each other and with the players and the other coaches that it's they try to give that vacation time to their family. And so you'll see guys take real vacations. But what would you like to see the Niners do? Is there another move that you could see them make? Teams do continue to make moves. They seem like they always sign some players going into camp. And I have a guy in mind that I think is an interesting story that I want to touch on. But what do you view right now on the 20th of May, after the draft, after free agency? If you could add a piece to the puzzle, what kind of piece to the puzzle would you want to add?
I mean, based on who's available and what they need and everything, honestly, I wouldn't mind to get another wide receiver. They looked into Gabe Davis. Obviously, he's got the knee injury, so I don't think they're going to go that route. Name that I want to throw out there, Amari Cooper. They had interest in him a year ago. They were going to trade for him anyways. If he's available at the right price, I think Lombardi was saying this too on 957 The Game today, and I agreed with them because I've been kind of thinking about this. Amari Cooper, man, they've been kicking the tires on receivers. They were looking at Devontae Adams, but again, he didn't want the bargain price, right? He's not a thrift store entity, he said, so they didn't want to go with that contract. But if Amari Cooper would like to take a little low-key contract, I wouldn't mind it because they do need another receiver. I'm not doubting Jennings or Purcell or anybody, but
right.
I mean, you don't know when Brandon Ayuk's come back. You need to bridge the gap. I think you could bridge the gap very well with Amari Cooper. I mean, man, Cooper, Jennings, Purcell, Kittle would make me feel a lot more confident and give another weapon to Purdy. I think everybody would be happy. Yes, we need O-line, but you're not going to get a top-tier O-lineman right now and whoever's left. And that grabbed a few, right? Andre Dillard, that was the big one they grabbed. I would like to see a safety, but there's not a lot of big names out there. They got Richie Grant. That's a guy I feel like is going to step up and be the safety until Malik Mustafa comes in. So to me, wide receiver, go get Amari Cooper. Why not?
I love it. I got a different name, same position.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm reading an article this week online, and it was an article about the Jets. And basically, the story of the Jets OTAs is Arian Smith, the receiver from Georgia, who ran 4.29. He's one of the fastest receivers in all of college football. but he's got terrible hands, right? He's never caught a lot of balls at Georgia, but he's unbelievably athletic, unbelievably fast. And that he's been the talk of Jets OTAs. And I was looking at I stumbled into an article which somehow filtered me into the Locked On Jets show. And basically these guys were talking about how Arian Smith has been very impressive in Jets OTAs and that Malachi Corley might be the odd man out. And their point was just that the old regime was Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas, and those guys loved Malachi Corley. They took him 65th in the draft in 2024. Not only did they take him 65th overall, I didn't realize this, but they traded up to get Malachi Corley with that 65th pick. And he is a lot like Debo. He's a run after the catch. He's he's 5'11", 215, 220 pounds. He can make defenders miss. He can play through contact. He's often compared to Debo. Anyway, he goes out in his rookie year. He gets 6 targets his entire rookie year. He only caught 3 balls for 16 yards. He actually was going to the end zone to score a touchdown and down the ball at the 1, and it went through the end zone for a touchback. No. So that's a bad moment. So he wound up on the year 3 catches, 16 yards, 0 touchdowns on 6 targets. Right. Now the Jets they got a new regime. Aaron Glenn's the new head coach. Darren Mugary is the new general manager, the former Broncos assistant GM. And, they signed Malachi Corley to a 4-year, $6 million contract as a rookie. So he's still on his rookie deal. But the Jets now have Garrett Wilson. They have Alan Lazard. They signed Josh Reynolds in free agency. They really like Tyler Smith, the former Buccaneer. Now they have Arian Smith. They also have Xavier Gibson, who is their premier return guy. He only had 6 catches last year, but he is one of the better return men in the league. No player in the NFL returned more punts than Gibson's 33 last year. He averaged almost 29 yards per kick return on 17 tries. So he's not the most explosive return man in the league, but he's probably the most dependable return man in the league. So Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, Josh Reynolds, Tyler Smith, Arian Smith, Xavier Gibson. They also have Jamal Pritchett. That's 7. Corley would be 8. And if you're the 49ers, if Robert Saleh really did trade up last year for Malachi Corley, and Corley does a lot of the things that Debo does, and now Debo's no longer here, and you have Ayuk, but you don't know what you're getting out of Ayuk. You got Pearsall, but he only really played well in 2 games. You got Jennings, but he's a 4-7 guy. Demarcus Robinson's going to miss 3 games. Jordan Watkins is a rookie. Cowing did nothing last year. Nayer's a rookie. Bergen's a rookie. Tariq Owens and Isaiah Hodgins are just kind of flyers. Mm-hmm. If you could get a Malachi Corley, either if the Jets released him, of course, go after him. But if even if you could trade something, day 3 pick to them, I think that might be the guy to get. Why? Because he's not going to cost you as much as Amari Cooper. He's not going to cost you as much as Gabe Davis. He's also younger, fresher, probably healthier, more upside. And maybe that guy can be a contributor and run some of the Debo routes. What do you think of Malachi Corley if you could get him for like a 5th or a 6th round pick?
I mean, it seems like he'd be a good cheap fill-in, right? Again, you're just trying to bridge the gap, and maybe he could become more. But the only thing I have is now it seems like he was kind of the odd man out with the Jets. Would he be the odd man out in the Niners? So would he go from one frustrating situation to another frustrating situation? Because, yeah, I know the Niners have some question marks, right? We talked about Pearsall. Is he going to take that leap this year? Like, I think he played good this year. Like, I know he didn't have a monster rookie season, but he was shot in the chest. So you give him a little pass. And then Cowing, are they going to use him more? I don't know. And then Jennings, we expect him to have a big season. But you're right. He's not that burner. So it does help to have a young, speedy guy, a guy like Debo, right? So I don't think it would hurt. But my question is, would he be that odd man out? Because they do have a lot of receivers. They just don't have like a primary guy that you're like, okay, that's the dog. Although it's probably Jennings with BA out. And then I
would just like one more weapon who could be utilized, who has a little bit of juice.
I don't think it's just Cowing more. Like, honestly, they got it in Cowing.
Yeah, and maybe it's Cowing. Maybe it's Cowing.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. If you're going to use Cowling,
Maybe it's
then
Jordan
use that.
Watkins.
Maybe. Who knows?
You know?
But that's why I say bring in a veteran, because the veteran, you don't necessarily like have to develop him or hope he hit his stride. And like you said, he has some problem with his hands. If you bring in a guy, you're going to have to still develop him a little bit more. I know Amari Cooper is a little washed, whatever, but he's a
Well, he appeared to be. I don't know. Was he? I don't know. He went to Buffalo. He didn't do anything. I didn't see what happened there though. But I know he didn't produce. But I don't know if he was hurt. He might have had a hammy or a quad or something. He's an awesome receiver in his career. Right? He's got great ball skills. Very productive. He would fit in beautifully. Beautifully. I mean, you couldn't pick a better guy to get to replace. Not having Ayuk for 2 months than Amari Cooper. I'm just thinking of Corley as like, maybe you could find somebody who some of these rookie receivers actually bust out in year 2. And if there are some teams that are not willing to wait and they're not patient, but you got to show some patience with receivers. And if the Niners somehow could get Corley, I think there's a chance he could be good. We'll see. Just a name.
He's a good young raw player. I wouldn't hate it.
Couple last ones before we get out of here. Brent Jones is going to become the 33rd inductee into the Edward J. DeBartolo Sr. San Francisco 49er Hall of Fame.
Heck yeah.
I love me some Brent Jones, man. I don't know if you've ever met Brent Jones, but he's just a great guy, terrific guy. I've done charities with him, field dedications. One time we did a opening of a burger place in Walnut Creek called The Counter. We served hamburgers together for a few hours to all the people that were checking that out. I'm just a big fan of Brent Jones. I love talking ball with him. He's a good guy. He's a big part of, he's one of the leaders in the Niners Golden Heart Fund, which takes care of the retired players and makes sure that they're looked after. And I love that about Brent Jones and Harris Barton, Ronnie Lott. But I also think Brent Jones is another guy that statistically his career doesn't look like what it should look like because he played with the greatest statistical player of all time in Jerry Rice. And I just think all of those guys, Brent, Waters, John Taylor, you name it, Roger Craig, almost all of the players that weren't quarterbacks that played with Jerry were better than their stats say because Jerry got the ball so much.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. I'm not, there's no ill will. I'm not saying Brent should have it. I'm not saying Brent should be mad at Jerry. I'm just saying that Brent and Waters and Taylor, these guys were all about winning. And so they didn't care about their stats. But if they had played on other teams, I think they would have had bigger stats.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Brent Jones was one of the pioneers for like tight end actually catching the ball. Like back then, it was block the damn, you're a blocker. You're tight end, you're a blocker. But he was one of the tight ends that was catching passes. And you're right. If he would have went to another team before the Niners, this guy would have been catching. He would have probably put up like Antonio Gate numbers, stuff like that. Like that's how good this guy was. I don't think I ever saw this guy drop a pass. Like I was young buck and I used to love Brent Jones. Whenever Steve Young was in trouble flushing out, he's looking a safety blanket. There he goes, Brent Jones. This guy was an absolute baller, man. He run after the catch. You want to talk about yak? This guy was amazing, man. I loved him. He was one of my favorite players growing up. I met him, Golden Heart Fund. I saw him too because I did some work with Jesse Sapalu a couple times here and there through the Golden Heart Fund, and Brent was there, and it was awesome. He's a good dude, just a hell of a Niner, and I was happy that they announced this, that he's the 33rd member of the 49ers Hall of Fame. He's the guy that goes under the radar. Not a lot of people bring up Brent Jones, but he was a fucking great player, man. He class act, just a good, humble guy, and he was very important for that West Coast offense because you need that security blanket, those short passes, and he would turn it into a big play. So before there was George Kittle, before Vernon Davis, you had Brent Jones, and he was an absolute dog, man.
Great player. Great player. My favorite Brent Jones catch, he got ISO'd on Junior Seau in the Super Bowl, in Super Bowl 29, and Steve Young threw the perfect fade, little sideline fade, and Jones had a step on a streak against Junior Seau and made a beautiful catch. I mean, that just an awesome one. A couple last thoughts. This year, the Niners have the NFL's easiest schedule. We saw that come out. But I also saw this little note. The past three teams, Raj, who entered the season with the easiest schedule, And this is again according to the previous season's winning percentages.
Yeah.
But the past 3 teams that entered the year with the quote unquote easiest schedule all finished with losing records.
Oh, let's go. I didn't know that.
How about that though? Isn't that amazing?
That's a stat, Larry. Holy shit. We got to we got to buck the trend. I didn't know that. Wow. Where'd you see that?
I just saw it. It was in one of the articles about the record. I couldn't believe it. But that also just, what it really tells you is teams that have a last place schedule oftentimes earn those last place schedules, and they're a last place schedule for a reason. And a lot of times that means they're teams that are getting much worse. The 49ers are hoping that's not the case, that they're not one of those teams getting much worse. The 49ers did sign Greg Joseph to a 1-year deal, and they cut Alex Barrett. Joseph is going to compete against Jake Moody for the kicker job. Who's going to win that job?
Oh, man, Greg Joseph. Are you kidding me? It's his job. He's got no pressure. It's all the pressure's on Jake Moody. Honestly, all the pressure is on Jake Moody, and it's going to if he thrives under pressure, which you should as a kicker, he'll win it. But I feel like this is Greg Joseph's job. And Jake Moody has so much. He's had pressures the moment he was drafted as a kicker. Like, let's be honest. That's why he's in this position. I think Greg Joseph wins the job.
I'll say this. If it's even, give it to Joseph. Give it to Joseph. Go with the veteran if it's even. I'm sharing the screen on this little nugget from RSF 49ers. Raj, so not just joint practices Niners Broncos, but joint practices Niners Raiders, or joint practice one. It's gonna be one
day. This is according to Vic Tarfer, the newest member of the 49ers. He used to cover the Raiders. I used to get, he's a good. He works for the Athletic, I think now.
Oh, Vic Tafer's the best. Are you kidding me? He's one of the best.
The man. So he's now with the Niners again, and his news was that the 49ers are going to be playing a 1-day joint practice on the 14th, 2 days before their preseason game with the Raiders. So, according to all the news that's broken out, because Matt Barrows reported a few months ago that the 49ers are going to have a joint practice with the Broncos. They got the Raiders. I love it. I love joint practices. Those are fun.
Oh, it's the best. I love it. It's the energy is so much better. The Niners welcome 3 new families to their ownership group. Do you have a thought on that at all?
Yeah, man, it's good for the Niners. They made 6%. It was like close. It was 8.5 billion, something like that. They made a
8.5 billion valuation. So basically, what they took was an investment of about $510 million in capital from these 3 families combined for roughly 5% of the team.
Good for them. And that just tells me those families have a lot of money. I hope they can. Maybe I got to know who they are. You're going to adopt me, but good for the 49ers. Made some money. I like it. That's good. Diversify yourself. It is good.
Yeah, I mean, it's, this is a way you can get the Purdy deal done without actually having to dig into your accounts in any way. You get a $500 million deal, you hand $100 million to Purdy, you put the rest probably into the stadium reno for the Super Bowl, and away you go, right? Yeah, and you probably don't even miss that revenue by the time it's all said and done.
Someone else mentioned, I think so it's funny because they got this last Thursday. I think this hits the news last Thursday. The next day, Brock Purdy gets paid on Friday or agreed to terms. And then Monday, they do Fred Warner. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. They probably said, all right, cut the money. We're going to cut this check. Yo, Brock, we got your money. Okay, hit the bag. And then they call, yo, Fred, we got your money. That's probably what it did. And you made extra money. You still got a lot more money in liquidation and assets. So it was a win-win for everybody. I love it.
Yeah, no, seriously. And it also shows how much money you really need to have. I mean, you could have an asset like the 49ers that could be worth billions, but you need 100 million. You need hundreds of millions of dollars liquid to operate in today's NFL. And there's all kinds of people that have all kinds of wealth accrued that don't have hundreds of millions of dollars liquid laying around. It's just the way it is. Just the reality of modern finances. Not that I have billions or liquid millions either, but there I spoke to it. All right, last one, Raj. Let's talk, because there always are. Let's go with some training camp sleepers. And you and I talk so much Niners that finding a true sleeper is pretty freaking hard because nobody's really a sleeper when it comes to you and I, right? We talk so much Niners. There's no person on this roster that you and I could not have a long conversation about. But that being said, there's always, hey, you know what? I heard this. I heard that. Somebody whispered this. Somebody whispered that. I have a feeling about this. I have a feeling about that. I've got 3 guys that I think are going to be training camp sleepers. But I want to hear yours.
Okay, I love it. So I got they're all going to be undrafted players, by the way. I got maybe
it could be anybody. It could be veterans. It could be rookies. It could be anybody. What do you got?
I got, obviously, he might not be a sleeper anymore, but Isaiah Nayer. This guy's name's starting to shoot up the board. Everybody started talking about him. I think he might actually maybe make the 53 man. I don't know if he makes 53, but I think he'll definitely be a practice squad guy. But a lot of people are starting to talk to him. I think he's maybe going past the sleeper. I think the other offensive lineman they got undrafted was a Drew Moss, that kid.
Yep.
I think he might be the better offensive lineman out of some of the people they've had over the last couple of years. I know me and you talked about Connor Colby, and we expect him to start, but Drew Moss, to me, might be the guy that actually rises above like the veterans that they have on, offensive line, like Matt Hennessy and Ben Barches of the world. Like some of those guys, they just don't move the needle for me. And I think this guy, if he can have a standout camp, might be a guy that ascends to the roster and put some pressure on Jake Brendel. So that's another guy. And then
here's Nayer, by the way, for those who are like, who's Isaiah Nayer? Well, he's a receiver from Nebraska. And as you can see here, this was the major play that he made in minicamp from Mordecai on the dead run.
Mordecai, though? Holy moly. That's look at that spiral,
Mordecai's got a good arm. But this kid also has this is a big receiver with long arms and 4.4 flat speed. And he's intriguing, man. He is intriguing. Good, no question. Very intriguing.
And then there's another guy. It's the cornerback from, I think it's BYU. Is it
Jacob Robinson?
Jacob Robinson. Yeah, Jacob Robinson. I really like this guy's skills. I can't believe he went undrafted. I feel like he should have been at least 7th round pick. But I'm intrigued by this guy because they have a lot of cornerbacks, but not a lot of them are, to me, stand. Like, I know you like Darrell Luter, but I don't think Darrell Luter is big of this roster because of injury history. And I think that Jacob Robinson is the guy that can rise up and maybe make this practice squad at least. But those are guys I'm looking at that could be sleepers. What about you?
Okay, I'm going. I love your pick of Isaiah Nayer. That's a great one. I'm going to go, and Drew Moss I think is a really good one too, Raj, because I think the more I watch Drew Moss, the more I think, you know what? Drew Moss reminds me an awful lot of Jarrett Kingston from last year. And Kingston got cut by the Niners, but he wound up having a pretty good year in Carolina. So that's a good one. I think that's a really good one. I'm going to go couple running backs.
Kiner.
Izzy Abanaconda. And I've been talking about Izzy Abanaconda for a while. Okay. And he's still on this roster. And the guy, from what I heard, it took him a while to kind of get in shape, learn the system, so on and so forth. But you're still talking about a guy with 4.3 speed who's 220 pounds, who had 20 touchdowns in the ACC, and he's not old. This guy, unless he had some terrible injury with the Jets that has made him incredibly diminished, if this guy is the same athlete as he was coming into the league, and I don't have any reason to believe he's not, he's going to be heard from this summer. This guy's too big, too fast, too explosive. Izzy Abanaconda. And I've talked him up. He hasn't done anything. I'm telling you, though, this guy can play. The other guy I thought looked really great in the minicamp rookie minicamp was Corey Kiner. Corey Kiner, I think, looks really good to me. Contact balance, power, runs through arm tackles, really, really a lot of confidence, a lot of contact balance, a lot of strength. This guy runs with tremendous strength. So I love both those backs, Corey Kiner and Izzy Abanaconda. Defensive end, Teron Jackson. Nobody's talking about Teron Jackson, but I'm telling you, this guy's a pass rusher. He'll beat out Beal and Garvin and those guys for that last defensive end spot. I think he's pretty good.
Wow.
I think he's pretty good. Teron Jackson. Love me some Teron Jackson.
They brought him in last year, right?
What's that?
They brought him in last year, right?
They brought him in December, kind of the way they brought Sam Aquinu in the previous December, and then Sam kind of busted out last year. I expect Teron Jackson to bust out this year. So those would be my guys. Nair, I could also go Isaiah Hodgins from Berean Christian. He's a big receiver. He's not a fast receiver, but he's very sure-handed. And if the 49ers don't add that extra receiver that Raj and I, if they don't add a Gabe Davis, if they don't get a Malachi Corley, if they literally go to camp as is, I think Isaiah Hodgins might be a guy that has a shot at winning a roster spot. All right, let's hit some supers and then we'll get out of here. MSQ says, can you ask Raj about the Smitty theory on how the Niners should have waited to pay Purdy like how Cincinnati did with Chase and Higgins, and thoughts right after?
Oh, yeah. So I do a stream with the Fantasy Football Show. I don't know if you know him. Smitty, he's from the Fantasy Football Show. He runs a big YouTube channel.
No.
So we go live a lot, and he's like one of the guys I've been live with for years and years. So we're talking about the Purdy, and he's a hater. He's a Arizona guy. He's a fantasy guy. He hates Brock Purdy. He hates Kyle Shanahan. But he said the 49ers should have waited this year to pay him. And every other year, he's like, oh, Niners are stupid for waiting around. And now this year, they don't wait to pay Purdy. So he says they should have waited. They should have gave him the franchise tag, make him earn his money, and then go from there. Because, the Bengals did it with Chase. And he says, over the long run, you save money. It was a silly theory, but that's what he said. He says the 49ers
Has
should have waited.
Anybody ever benefited from this approach? Has anybody, I'll even just forget Chase for a second. Just, look at the way Dallas, has anybody ever benefited from making their incumbent quarterback play it out on the franchise tag and creating that kind of distraction and / disharmony? I don't think that's, I think if you don't believe in Brock, then don't pay him. But if you do believe in him, and they did, I think there's no time like the present, because the price is always going up.
Yeah.
Right.
I said the same. I said, look, if you do this theory, okay, you franchise tag, you kick the can down the road. If they win 12 games, which they should in this easy schedule, like 10 to 12, if you go out there and have a good season, you just hit yourself in the foot, because now his price went up from 53. So 53 is a bargain, but he'll argue till he's blue in the face, and he'll say, oh, no, because the Niners are making a dumb decision. Should have gave him the franchise tag and saved the money. Kind of like what Grant was saying, where he said, if you save the money, then you could go and grab more people and get an O-line. And this is like, I get the takes, but it's just silly, because you don't want, the whole thing is you don't want to create a dramatic situation.
Well, I mean, no, but you actually made the most compelling point when we brought it up the first time, which is, what about the veterans in the room? What about Trent? What about George? What about the guys who are the leaders of this football team that are all going to be super turned off if you say, you know what, we just don't want to pay Brock, so we're going to go to Mac, who hasn't been good for a couple years, and draft Shador. And what if Shador isn't Brock? What if Shador is super raw? And now what if Brock goes somewhere else and plays well and leads that team to the playoffs? You're dead man walking if you're Shanahan and Lynch, because you're getting death stares from Trent Williams and George Kittle every day inside your facility. So it's easy to say these kinds of things when you don't have to worry about the other people. But when you actually introduce, hey, there's a Trent Williams there, and he's going to want to win now. And if you go deferred gratification, he easily could be like, hey, guys, great move. Oh, by the way, my agent's going to call you this afternoon, and we'd like to be out by Friday. And send us to Baltimore. And, you know what I mean? I mean, literally, that kind of thing could happen. MSQ says also Smitty, a.k.a. the Fantasy Football Show, went from sign these players right away to wait until you pay them. Like, what? Thoughts? Raj will fill you in, LOL. So I think Raj.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying. Before he would say, like, oh, we got to pay these guys. And now he's saying, wait, do that. And I think he referenced like Lamar Jackson, how the Ravens, but it's a whole different situation. And I brought up the same thing. Like, it's a whole different situation. You don't want to piss everybody off in the locker room, but I think we pretty much discussed it.
We got this. We got JC Mania says, notice how teams hit on their first and second picks when they use the first and second round picks on the same position. For example, Verse and Fisk, Mitchell and DeJean, Mikael Williams and Alfred Collins next. Thoughts? Well, I'll say this. I do think it helps like a young player to have somebody to go through the experience with. You know what I mean? So it's like it will probably help Alfred Collins to have a Mikael Williams and a CJ West, all rookies together. Just makes your transition maybe a little easier. But then for everyone that you can name like that, I can name, the Niners went double defensive player in the first round one year. They had Dana Stubblefield and Todd Kelly. Stubblefield became really good. Todd Kelly, not so much. Now, they didn't play the same position. The Niners got a couple good offensive linemen when they went with Yapati and Davis. Say that. That worked out. So sometimes it can work. We got this one from Kevin Wood. Grant's point of view is incredibly stupid, unserious person. All right. Come on. And I understand. Grant's polarizing. That's all. He's polarizing. Joseph Ernberg, we back to 30 for Purdy. We go into the Super Bowl this season.
Oh.
I like it. There was no question mark there. There was an exclamation point. Ricky Williams in the house says, if we go on a run, could we be buyers at the deadline? It's far-fetched, but what better path could we get? I want a ring before I pass, fellas. I hear you. On that one. I want that 6 Lombardi. I absolutely think the 49ers, I think John Lynch has proven in the past that if they're in it and there's some need that they have in October, they're not, they're impatient. They're trying to win. So I would say they're more likely to make a move. Anthony Catania in the house. Hey, Anthony, of course, the owner of Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, one of the proud sponsors of the Krug Show. We should tell you can check them out. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, on the Monterey Peninsula. Anthony Catania is the owner. He's at 831-521-5264. He says, great show as usual. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate you chiming in. Anthony's a season ticket holder. MSQ, Raj remembers this when you go live with the quad box again, LOL.
I'll remember.
Okay, there you go. Raj, I'll give you the final thought. If you had one, tomorrow Brock Purdy addresses the media. If you could attend the presser and ask Brock one question, what would it be?
Man, there's so many questions to ask. I don't know. There's a couple. We were talking about this before we came on the air, and one of the questions I would want to ask him is, okay, what are you going to do now that you have this money? Like, what are you going to do to prove yourself that you earn this $53 million a year? Like, what can you do to prove that you're worth $53 million a year? So I don't know. I think it's an honest question to ask.
I'll tell you one question I would like to ask him. Your brother plays quarterback as well and is pretty athletic. And, what do you think? I mean, does he have an NFL future? Have you talked to him about playing the position? Have you been able to help get him more developed? And he's obviously pretty big, pretty athletic kid. It wasn't like he played for Little Sisters of the Poor. He played at Nebraska. What do you think? Would you ever like to, have a quarterback room that had your brother maybe on the practice squad? How cool would that be for you?
That'd be cool.
I mean, he's been asked so many questions. I feel like so many of them we already know the answers to. At least on something like that, it's a little new ground, ground plowed.
Ask him, how does it feel that he doesn't have to have roommates anymore? He's got his own place and he's got generational money. That's crazy. Can you? This story is so good. Like you said, it's a movie, right? This is a movie. This man went from living in a freaking roommate, like he was being roommates with Nick Zakel and Colton McKivitz. And now he can go buy.
He was living with Alfredo Gutierrez.
Oh, right.
You remember he was him? It was him and Alfredo.
And they had the Christmas cards to people.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude.
Now the guy can probably own his own block.
Yeah, he can buy them. He can buy them a house, bro.
Do you think? Let me ask you this: do you think Sean Purdy stopped selling hot tubs?
No, you got to
No?
keep making. No, you keep making money.
I mean,
You
I know,
always-
but I mean, that's a dude, that's a hustle, man. That takes a lot of hustle.
I think
You don't think you think he's still selling hot tubs?
I think he's got to, man. I think
He's
you got
gotta
to.
keep
You
doing
know,
it. Okay.
you got to keep working, man. You don't want to like.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
No, and you don't want to retire because your kid, made it. It's like
Yeah, I'd still work. I feel like I'd still work. If I was my daughter.
if you won the lottery, you'd still work.
Like not a full time, but I'd still work. I'd still work because I feel like I'd be bored if I didn't.
I know, I would too. It sounds like one of those things where it'd be like, I wouldn't do anything. You wouldn't do anything for 10 days. Then you get bored. Then you'd be like, hey, I got to do something. Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Pig in a Pickle. Thanks to LearnKey Upskill Academy. Thanks to our good friends at Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Thanks to Raj. Thanks to all of you. Oh, we got one more. We got a couple more here, actually. We got this one from Jeb. He says, bet Nair gets cut. We always release UDFA players that shine in the preseason for failed draft picks. Hope this year is different, i.e. Kingston was better than Latu. I hear that. And we have MSQ saying, Purdy will be decked out in chains and Rolexes, LOL.
Yeah.
Yeah, something tells me he's going to look the same and talk the same and be the same.
I hope he comes through with the chain. Fred, did you hear what Fred Warner said? Fred Warner says, yeah, I think he's going to wear chains. He was joking about it, obviously, but he's going to be buying all these Rolex. I would love to see Brock like troll everybody tomorrow. Pull up, have like a chain, Rolex. Man, that'd be great. I hope he.
You know what would be hilarious is if he did the presser sporting the chain that you can buy in the stands.
Oh yeah,
that gold or silver, just gaudy 49er chain that's obviously fake. It's like, yeah, man, I decided to buy a couple things now that I'm flushed.
You should do it.
That would be awesome.
That would be such a good press conference. And then the hat backwards, piss off Colin Cowherd. I need him to go and just troll everybody. That would be absolutely fantastic.
Hat backwards. Yeah, hat backwards would be awesome as well. All right, that's going to do it for us. I will be in Santa Clara tomorrow for the Purdy presser, and I will ask a good question, I promise. For Raj, I'm Larry. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.
Yeah, never met a